So this week we had a cool surprise by receiving, as one of the first users, the very new FreeScan UE Pro that is really very fresh, and compared to the last UE 11 it is a lot more powerful. So there is, let's say, beside looking very similar to the UE 11 from outside, inside quite a lot of things have changed. You have right now not just 11 laser crosses, you will have 13. You will have more or less double resolution in the cameras, so the quality of the details are much higher. We have a 5-line HD laser scan mode that can be used as well in normal scanning, but with a lot less distance to the object, so different focus distance. That wasn't possible in the UE 11 as well. And one of the very cool features that in this price range is quite unique is, maybe some of you will already have some idea what it could be seeing these bars. It's photogrammetry, and it's integrated into the UE Pro, and it's not an additional hardware feature, it's just part of it. So being able to scan with let's say higher resolution, and as well with different distance, enabled a lot of new features. For example, there is as new possibility compared to the old, or let's not say old, to the current UE 11 that was the top model of this new series of laser scanners. There is an HD mode that enables you to start a scan in some resolution that is for bigger objects and less data size. For example, cast parts you can scan with a resolution of 0.2 or 0.3, and in the case of needing some areas in higher resolution, you can switch in the scan into the HD mode, what will enable you to locally increase very much the details and get some, for example, writings that's in the cast readable very well and very detailed. What I still really don't love is that dongle. I think dongle is a bit old-fashioned, as the UE Pro is as well still just using one USB port. It's not such a big problem. In a normal current laptop you will have normally 3 USB ports at minimum, so you will still have one free port for an external mouse or a 3D mouse or whatever. But it would be cool if this would be solved in some way over software. Connectors are the same like you had it in the UE 11 and the other UEs, as well the HX, so no big changes from that side. And just getting a bit more space here. And to just check what is possible, I will scan some of my example parts that I scanned as well with other scanners and the UE 11, for example. So one of the sample parts I scan more frequently right now is that cylinder of CR250 from Honda. I have here my multi-surface part that actually suffered a little bit the transport. It was, let's say, a bit damaged, but no problem, we can arrange that. nothing that a glue stick wouldn't repair. I as well will scan a piece of wood to see possible details and how they changed compared to what we've seen before. So wait and see how it will turn out. So starting a scan with the UE Pro is quite the same like before in the UE 11 or in HX. I'm just going to create a photo that is actually I did already, I'm overwriting it. I'm just going to select a standard resolution for a cast part that could be 0.3 millimeters, for example. That's absolutely fine for standard details. And starting to scan is nothing unknown so far. I'm just, instead of 11 cross lasers, I'm starting to scan with 13 of them. What makes it quite fast, I guess, and quite comfortable to scan. So what is new in the operation mode is the 5 stripe lasers that are as well changing the focus distance. I activate them by pushing that center button here for a period of, let's say, about 3 seconds, and I just already see here by the distance bar that we are in a total different range regarding the distance to the part. I just have no problem in to really approximate the part nearly to a point where I'm coming to collision with the scanner. So I'm having a different range of distance for scanning. What it makes it really comfortable, for example, if I'm not having so much space for scanning in some areas that are, let's say, very narrow. That means inside some housing and so on. As well, pushing that button for another 3 seconds brings me back into the single line mode. That is quite known from the time before. That is, let's say, in the UE11 the same. I have here some penetration of smaller areas that sometimes can be useful. I see that here in that area near the exhaust. I can here fill the last areas that are not so easy to get with that normal mode. But what is really a very, very new feature and really cool is that I am able, in the case needed, to operate with different resolutions in one scan. That means I, for example, want to be able to read this writing here, and you see that, of course, it's just preview quality. I can generate a point cloud that makes it more visible. Anyway, I'm able to rise that resolution in this area up. What is not so bad actually. I'm quite able to read everything, and compared to that other versions of the scanner, it is as well in this resolution already some difference regarding the camera resolution that changed overall. But nevertheless, let's come back to the topic. I'm able to generate a scan that's partially in a higher resolution. What is really cool, because it enables me to scan areas like, for example, these areas here that have more details, to scan them in higher resolution. What it means to me that I'm able to see more details. So I have to select this area I want to scan in higher resolution. The rest of the scan will not be affected. It means you have no deleting or let's say problems in this area. And from 0.3, what is the rest of my scan? I'm just going to 0.1 or 0.05. You can go even lower. Problem is, as lower you are going, as much more you will get some sensitivity for shaking of your hand. That means capturing in such a high resolution areas will be for the camera really demanding, and with that existing shutter speed you will have to just very slowly move your hand. we can do that, but 0.1 instead of 0.3 is a really big progress, so it should be fine for this case. So just reactivating the scanning mode, I'm just able to right now zoom in here just a little bit, that I'm able to see what I do. I'm just able to scan here this writing with the higher resolution I want, and this is as well the point where this small markers start to make sense, because they enable you to still not lose the tracking in that very reduced scanning field. And just to get you an impression how it will look like compared to before, I'm just going to generate points to give you an impression what this means. We are seeing here, this is the point density, we didn't mesh it so far, and if I'm going to go closer, I see just here I have a really high point density. That means I still have a kind of impression of a closed surface. If I go, let's say, zooming in, I see here already, I can see in the areas between the points, here I'm still having such a high density that it appears like a surface, and I have here on the cutting line created a higher resolution, what really helps me to get more details. We can just mesh it in between and go back scanning, no problem, just to see what will be the impression like, and let's see how it will be looked in the meshed way. So we are able as well to zoom in without seeing too much space between points. We will have a close to rendering appearance right now. And here we are. So this is the sharpness compared to the sharpness that we had with 0.3, so you can see that there is really some rather big progress. So you are able to partially create a scan area that is in a higher resolution. Nevertheless, I don't want to finish. I'm just going to continue the scan. And for standard surface, I can just scan with the 13 crosses. That was really fine. What I can see here in the single line mode, that it really brings me a benefit regarding the penetration depth that is in that kind of the transfer channels. Here a really cool feature, so I am able to scan really deep into these channels, what would be impossible not using that single line mode like you've seen it before. So I'm able to catch rather difficult areas as well with the same scanner. That was a really progress compared to, for example, the HX as well. So we received some pretty decent scan from a cast part. I think this is not too different from what we have seen before from the UE11, but right now we will switch to the wooden part and check what's under the hood regarding detail resolution of small details like wood structure and so on. And yeah, let's see how it will look like. To test the ability of high resolution of small details, I tested this piece of wood that I scanned with several scanners, and I got to say, compared to that laser scanner results that I created before on the same piece, this really became a very crispy scan compared to what I did with, let's say, the HX and the UE11. So it's a big step forward. You will be able to see even the wood structure in the growing direction, and you see small details. It's still not as sharp as a very high resolution good camera scanner from a structured light scanner, but don't forget this is a laser scanner, a hand scanner, so that demand on a high resolution is much higher, and I got to say this is the best one I've seen for a long time. This scan was done with the 5 stripes. That means the reduced distance scan mode in a resolution of 0.05, and compared to the other laser scanners so far, the 0.05 resolution is really still a step forward. In the former scanners, the standard resolution of 0.1 was, let's say, not too different to 0.05, so 0.1 was a reasonable resolution, 0.05 just was generating a lot of data for a very small effect. Here I see a really step forward in the resolution. If you will look at the result that was created with the same resolution but with the multi-cross laser scan in the higher distance, that means bigger scan field, you will see that the resolution, the effective resolution dropped a little bit. So it's still better than most of the scans before, and it's still having a lot of crispy details, but you see here already some, let's say, surface swings. so the surface is a little less calm, but it's still very good, and it's still much better than it used to be in the former setups in the laser scanners from Shining. So I gotta say, this is really worth the money, and it's a really big step forward into the right direction. And I got to say, from cost to benefit, a really competitive package so far. So that's so far it for today for the UE Pro. I think most of you that know the former scanners agree that this is again a big step forward, and see you in the next videos for more details about the UE Pro.